Hey guys, it's Paul here from Yard Empire. Just wanted to put together a quick video for you on a comparison between the Alro mower and the Bush Ranger or the Scott Bonner Rover 45, but all those mowers being fairly similar but vastly different to the Alro. So we just want to do a quick comparison. So a little while ago we did a comparison between the Mowmaster and the MEY, which was very well received. A lot of people got some great info from it. So we thought we'd just do a quick one for these, because when we talk about reliability, there is a big difference in reliability between the green Alro mower and what we would call the standard Scott Bonner mower or Rover 45 mower. A very big difference between those, and we'll highlight that in this quick video. So just to look at the Alro mower firstly, just to give you a bit of an idea of how this one operates. So what we have on this one is we have a drive belt which runs off the engine PTO, so that runs this shaft constantly. So no engagement or disengagement there at all. That shaft runs continuously when the mower is running. Then on the side here, right, we run this machine runs a series of 2 belts and 1 chain. So the chain being your rear roller drive. Now, no big issue with that chain because the rear roller drive only runs very slowly. So we'll talk a little bit about chains when we go over to the Bush Ranger mower. But that chain will last you quite a long time. Then you run, you can see we run a belt for the rear roller drive and also a belt for the reel drive. What we love about this design is the fact that it runs belts. So when you look at the maintenance required for a belt, it's clean, it's pretty much tension free. There's not much really that you need to do to this mower at all. So even when you make an adjustment, well, with this machine the bed knife is adjusted to the reel, so even when you make an adjustment with this machine, you don't need to do anything in here at all with the tension of the belt. So even if grass gets in here, you want to clean that out, but it's not going to cause any major problems with these belts. You obviously need to take that cover off and clean it anyway, but these belts we've seen on machines which are many years old, and they are still running the same timing belts they had on originally. So we love this design when it comes to reliability. And if you do need to make an adjustment to the reel engagement, it's really simple. You've just got some nuts on a threaded part of this rod. So one does the reel engagement, one does the drive engagement. The other thing we love about this machine is that you can run the reel and the rear drive independently from each other. So what that means is if you want to move your mower to the backyard, just run the engine and you can drive this machine. You don't have to have the reel going. With the Bush Ranger or the Rover or Scotty, if you want to drive your machine, you need the reel engaged. Now what that means is you're actually running the reel against the bed knife the whole time you're moving the machine. This one, you don't need to do that. Leave the reel not running and just throttle the rear drum control and you can move this machine whenever you want. So much easier to move around. All right, when we have a look at the Scotty design or this is a Bush Ranger, but all very similar design. Now the Bush Ranger obviously has different chains to a Scotty, and I get that. But you still have a clutch and cork arrangement. Now, as everyone knows, cork fails. Pretty simple. Yes, it will last a long time if you look after it, but if you don't look after it, it will fail. You also have this thrust washer here. Again, if you don't lubricate that thrust washer, you're going to have issues. The shaft will wear out, the thrust washer wears out, another failure point. Then we move to the chain drive. So the reel chain and also the intermediate chain for the rear drum engagement. Now, these chains move quite quickly. If you don't lubricate them, if you don't tension them properly, if they get dirty, then like any chain on anything that is exposed to the environment, like a push bike, a motorbike, a dirt bike, any industrial machinery, anything that runs a chain that is exposed to dust and dirt and anything in the environment, if you don't clean that chain and if you don't clean and lubricate that chain, these chains won't last long at all. Now, the issue with the chain is if you don't tension it properly, and if you don't attend to it or replace the chain in time, what happens is you will actually wear the teeth off your sprocket. So the pitch of the chain extends and opens up, and because each roller needs to fit neatly in between each tooth on this sprocket, if this chain pitch opens up too far, that roller actually starts to wear out the teeth. Now, we've seen them. We've had plenty in the shop before where the teeth have completely come off this PTO shaft, and also the teeth have been missing off the reel. And that can be quite expensive. So when you look at the cost of a clutch, you look at the cost of the PTO, you look at the cost of the chains, yes, an Elro costs you more, but you're pretty much only one major service away on this machine, or a little bit more than that, depending on which machine you buy, particularly if it's a Scotty, they got a pretty high price on them. You're only one major service away from being able to afford an Elro, and you don't have to worry about any of this at all. The other thing is, when you adjust the reel to bed knife, you also need to adjust the chain tension, because the reel moves obviously up and down. That up and down movement affects the tension on the chains. So you need to adjust not just one chain on this machine, but you need to adjust both these chains, and then also you've got the third to adjust, which is the rear roller. So a lot happening on this mower compared to the Elro mower, or any mower that runs belts. A lot more maintenance required, a lot more inspections required, a lot more cleaning required, potentially a lot more cost. So yeah, that's just one of the key differences between these two machines. Reels are very similar. You can still get a 9-blade for an Elro. You know, you can get other variations for a Scotty. Everyone knows those. The reel adjustment for the Elro, if we just look at that quickly, the reel adjustment, the bed knife adjustment on an Elro, it's not done by the reel. The reel stays in position and doesn't move. This one is really simple. It's just a nut on the front and a nut on the back. Obviously loosen one off, tighten one on. That rotates the position of the bed knife up or down on a cam. So there's a pivot point at the back, a little bit like a cam. So that just brings that bed knife, the tip of the bed knife, up closer to the reel or further away, just by adjusting these two rods. Really simple. Only need one spanner, that's it. A lot of people have issues with this design of setup because you've got a few things happening. So this one adjusts the reel, bed knife stays in position, reel adjusts. So what you have is you have this adjustment bolt. So you've got a locking nut on the side here, then you've got a little nut underneath here, and then you've got a screwdriver flat, right, which rotates that bolt and lifts the bearing housing, the front of the bearing housing, up and down. Now, some people find that a little bit difficult because you have to undo the nut, you have to rotate the bolt, you have to tighten the nut up, then you check. Now, what can also happen with this design is when you do up that locking nut on either side, that can also alter the position of the reel to the bed knife. So what you need to do with some machines is you pretty much have to make an adjustment, lock the nut up on the side, then do a test. Right, and then you might find, okay, well, it's not quite right, so we'll undo this. Now, it can be quite tricky because then you lose your adjustment every time you undo that nut or you tighten that nut up. Now, that can happen both sides. It can be on one side, but obviously then this machine, you obviously need to do both sides. So there's a pretty big difference there between also the setup of the reel and bed knife and setting the cut compared to the Elro, which is much simpler, just two nuts. No sort of change when you tighten them up because those two nuts hold that in position, so you don't have to worry about any of that, and you can make quite fine adjustments. Very simple. So there you go, guys. Just a quick video of the differences between the Elro mower and the Bush Ranger or Scotty or Rover 45. Now, obviously they're not all the same mower, but pretty much the drive setup is exactly the same between them. All right, so if you're ever interested in looking at an Elro, we have a test one here at Yard Empire. You can take it home, you can try it out. You will be impressed with the weight, the cut, the simplicity of the Elro mower versus most other mowers on the market. These guys sit firm, they ride steady, very easy to move. You can throttle the speed really easily. Really good mid-range priced mower. Well, there you go, guys. That's Paul from Yard Empire. Chat to you soon.